about engineering, the more I realized how much I liked it. So I realized like how much of a problem solving aspect to it there is. I love how hands-on it is. I mean, growing up, I love to build things all the time. I love doing projects on my own. I have actually a younger brother. He's 6 years younger than me. I used to play Legos with him all the time, and I hate to admit it, but I really enjoyed it. And so that's kind of the reasons why. That's a little quote I put on the slide. If you want to go back, that's a little quote I put on the slide. Engineers like to solve problems. If there are no problems handily available, they will create their own problems. So I don't know, just a little motto I like. Next slide now. Okay, so mechanical engineering, I picked it because it is very versatile and I love it so, so much because I felt like I was getting a little experience everywhere. So I learned a little bit about I took embedded control and electronic instrumentation. I learned a little bit about more so like the electrical components or things like that, which I really enjoyed a lot. I've done you start doing CAD your freshman year usually, so that's pretty awesome. So you get kind of thrown right into a lot of it. So that's super cool because you can really figure out early on if you like it, and figure out maybe if there is a concentration or if you just want to stay mechanical for now. So just to like point out some of the pictures, the one that says engineering processes, that's a class I took at RPI, and a lot of other engineers take it too. I don't think it's just mechanicals. And basically you build a cannon. So mine's in the bottom left corner, and you build it in a shop. So that was really cool because I never had that type of experience. And again, that's why I really love mechanical engineering. It's because it's hands-on, and I feel like RPI really gave me that experience. One of my favorite classes at RPI has been Introduction to Engineering Design. That stands for IED. So you can see I have that written there. So basically, my group, and these are the three pictures on the right. Basically, my group, we decided to. So the way the class works is they take a few different engineers and they'll put you into a group and they say, hey, you have to come up with some type of problem in the world and some type of practical solution and then build it. So it's kind of up to you. Your group gets to build whatever they're interested in. So that's super awesome, the fact that you get to have a choice. So we decided to build this apparatus that would drop test cell phone cases. So the other mechanical engineer and I in the group, we built the tripod together. We dropped down various different surfaces, which is really cool. In one of the pictures, there's like green bins. So those are actually push pulls. Well, that's not the actual push pull solenoids, but that's what the electrical engineer made in our group, and he made these like push pull solenoids that basically pushed on the cell phone like this, and then would release it from the top. So that was super cool. Again, it was nice to see what other people came up with, things like that, and learn a lot more. And it was one of my favorite classes again because it was very hands on, things like that. And something about too my time at RPI is I've discovered definitely I want to go more so into probably like the robotics aspect of mechanical engineering. And the way I figured that out was actually by taking a computer science course at RPI. And I realized, I'm really into software. I really liked the electrical classes I took, things like that. And so that's kind of cool because I really discovered what I wanted to do. And I came not knowing anything about engineering and not knowing at all what I wanted to do. So it's really nice that RPI gives you a variety of, ooh, sorry. It's really nice that RPI gives you a variety of chances to discover new things. And that is, again, why I really love mechanical engineering because you learn about so many different things in that curriculum. So you'll do material science. I mean, this was already listed earlier. You'll do material science, you'll electrical classes, you do a coding class. So it's really awesome. And then another and two that I have written there is capstone. So obviously, you're a senior. I'm not a senior yet. So I'll be taking it next year. I'll be doing my capstone project. So I include that because I'm really excited for it because again, I love the hands-on components right now. And then next slide. Okay, and so my co-op experience, this was actually during my Arch Away semester. So I did Arch last year and I went away in the fall and I got a co-op at Medtronic in Littleton, Massachusetts. So the co-op actually wasn't very specific to mechanical engineering. It was actually in the program management department. So it wasn't exactly at first, I wasn't really too sure about it because a lot of it was going on Excel, keeping track of their documents. There's just a lot of documents that go with building a medical device, things like that. There's a lot of standards, regulations, which makes sense. So I helped out a lot with that, but I really got to see an overview of the research and development and just an overview of like the whole entire design process. So that was currently when I was working at Medtronic, they were in the process of doing like verification and validation. So they were doing a bunch of tests for this device. Their main device they make is the O arm. So basically that's in the picture in the bottom right. And it is basically it's in the shape of the O, of a no, and that's why it's called the O arm. And it basically opens up and it goes around the patient, close back over them, and it can take 2D images, 3D constructive images of the body. So it's used during surgery usually. And so the X-ray technician will take pictures throughout the surgery, so that way the surgeons don't have to cut open the body as much, and it makes it easier for them to heal. It's minimally invasive, things like that. So it's a really cool device actually. And I really enjoyed learning about it. I got to see it opened up and like the parts inside. So they were in the middle. Again, they had me, I got to help out on one of the tests. I ran a dry run, which was really cool. That's just basically, it was just before the actual tests were, just to like make sure it was working before they actually started to document it. Because everything they have to keep and back up and write down a medical device. Um, and so I got to do like a little test for one of the softwares and stuff, and I ran through the software and made sure that every time I accidentally did an error, I actually did on purpose. I would make sure that error like message popped up. I don't know, and I don't want to get into it, but it was really cool, and it was nice again to see the overall aspect of just like the engineering design process. And I got to talk to a lot of different. There were electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, software engineers. There was so many biomedical engineers. There were a lot of different people at the company. So it was a really great experience, and I'm really thankful for it. And if anything, it just assured me more that I definitely want to continue going into engineering. And that's kind of it for my experience for now at RPI. I'm going to pass it off to Becca.
Okay. Hi guys. My name is Becca. I am a senior, so I just graduated a couple days ago with a degree in industrial engineering. Slide over. Okay. So why RPI? Why engineering? First of all, why engineering? Personally, I love problem solving. I know that's like a classic like engineer answer, like why engineering? But baseline, I think engineers are just phenomenal problem solvers. And then from there, we break into fields based on which kind of problems we're passionate about. So when I was in high school, I did not know what I was passionate about. I just knew I liked to solve problems. So that's kind of why I came to RPI. I knew this was a great school with a great strong STEM focus and a great reputation, and that like it would be a phenomenal school to help me find my path, so that I could find my passion and pick my discipline. Next slide. Okay. So like I said, I came into RPI not knowing what type of engineering I wanted to pursue. So I did come in as an undeclared engineer, but by my sophomore year, I had declared as an industrial management engineer. So you can kind of see like the official definition of an industrial engineer, but the way I like to describe it is just bridging the gap between machines and humans. So a couple of the classes we take, I'll just rattle them off. Engineering project management, production and operations management, design and analysis of work systems, operations research methods, statistical analysis, data analysis, basically just complex statistics so that you can make the most efficient and beneficial working decisions. And that could be in a factory, that could be with like a production line, that could be with ordering, really anything. And then like I was saying, we do design analysis of work systems. That's kind of like spatial engineering. So making sure that you're creating work systems that way your workers can use the machines and also just kind of go through their production process as efficiently as possible. So for me, I picked IME because I didn't want to tie myself to a particular industry. And industrial management engineering, you pretty much have the flexibility to work anywhere where there is a factory. So that's kind of why I picked industrial management engineering. So some of my work experience, during my junior year, I took the fall off and I worked for Philips Healthcare. Those are the two pictures on the bottom. When I was at Philips, I worked in their procurement department with their procurement engineering team at a plant that produced MRI machines. And most of my position was looking to highlight and kind of like expose like any areas where we could have cost savings. So obviously there's places everywhere where you can save money, but you don't want to kind of cut corners when you're making MRI machines. You want your machines to be sturdy. It's a medical device. It's FDA approved. You want to make sure you're cutting costs in appropriate areas. So my position, I worked to develop a system that would flag and notify the team if we had parts that needed to be reordered in the near future. And that was based on how fast the floor was consuming them, how long it took to get here, because sometimes you have things coming from China and then they get held up in customs. So you have to plan for that. Because the way they were doing it before was that we would have humans manually check. And if a human makes a mistake, and then the whole floor stops because we don't have a box of screws, like something as little as a box of screws could stop a whole production floor, and that's really expensive. So like I said, my position was mostly putting systems in place to make sure that we could reduce the amount of human error that was possible. So that was my internship at Philips. And then my next internship, this past summer, I worked in the automation department at Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. You might have heard of them. They've been in the news recently because they're trying to develop a cure for COVID. So really proud to have been a part of their organization. There, I was in their automation department, like I said. And since Regeneron is a pharmaceutical company, everything has to be approved by the FDA every step of the way. So similarly to Philips, my project was to create proactive procedures so that we didn't have any drug ever stuck at the door, because that's the last thing you want is drugs stuck at the door when you have patients that need it. So I would follow drug from beginning to end and try to highlight any issues where we would have flags come up, so that we could have proper procedures in place that we didn't get stuck and say, now what? We have like a flow chart that gets us to the right solution, so that we can get drug out the door, so that anyone who needs it has access to it. And you can see me. That's me with all my kind of friends at Regeneron. And it was really cool. At Regeneron, there was over like 120 interns, and 120 projects were completed. And at the poster fair, mine won "This Should Be Standard Operating Procedure," which is really cool because it was a huge compliment. It really means that what I had learned at RPI to build systems and build procedures that make businesses more efficient, it really proved that what I had learned worked, and that everyone at Regeneron felt the same way. So that was really cool. So that's just kind of my RPI industrial and engineering experience.
All right, so what we're going to do now is I believe all the ambassadors can come back and we'll all just do a discussion to answer questions. If any of you who are watching have questions, please feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll kind of go through all these together. We'll switch off who answers which question. If someone wants to answer a certain question, we'll go from there. So the first question is, do applicants have to declare an engineering major when applying? Anyone want to take this one?
I can take it if you want. I had said before, you don't have to. If you know where you want to go, obviously you can. But like I had said before, I did not know. I had no clue. I knew I wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't know what type. So you can apply just as an undeclared engineer. You just have to declare by the spring of your sophomore year. And you can wait that long. I did. I waited till sophomore year because I couldn't pick. So yeah, you don't have to know what you want when you come in.
Perfect. Yeah, and to add to that too, I came in as a biomedical engineer and I changed during the end of my freshman year, early sophomore year. So that's definitely an option as well. Don't panic if you think you're in the wrong major or anything like that. You definitely have time to switch. So next question is, how competitive are the engineering programs? Anyone want to take this one?
I can start. I know definitely in chemical engineering, we work together all the time. Over this last summer during Arch, we had the chance to do group homework. So if we had homework assigned to us, you had a group to work on that homework with you, so you weren't just stuck by yourself. And definitely, I had a lot of upperclassmen higher than me, like seniors, helping get the textbooks that I needed for class without having to pay for them at the bookstore, giving me back work for their labs and homework and things like that. So definitely a lot of support and collaboration.
Yeah, just to add on to what Tahira was saying, I think just in general at RPI, it's a very collaborative environment, and that translates to the engineering programs. So everyone is always willing to help each other out. Like we all know, we're kind of, we're taking all these hard classes together. So it's not really like a cutthroat environment, and definitely not like super competitive.
Perfect. Next question is, can you dual major in computer science and computer systems engineering or electrical engineering? Yeah, I mean, the short answer there is yes. There's a lot of different options you can dual major with. Anyone else
I
want to
can
add to
answer
that?
it, but yeah, that's a very common dual. I know for mechanical engineers, a lot of them like to dual also with aeronautical engineering, so that's super cool too. So you get the experience with that. And personally for me, so I said earlier I was interested in like software, so I'm actually gonna try to get a minor in computer science with mechanical engineering. That's also doable. So there's like a lot of ways where you can add on to your major, which is super awesome. So if you're interested in multiple bins, don't fear, you'll find a way to do both.
Perfect. Anything else? Or next question. All right, so the next question is, which AP classes would help me with the engineering program? So short answer to that is any math or science, really. I got credit for AP Calc and AP Physics, so that was definitely helpful for me. But if anyone else wants to add their experience.
Even if you don't get out of the actual classes at RPI too, just taken. So I took AP Chemistry and I didn't get the high enough score, but I remember it helped me a lot in Chemistry 1 when I took it at RPI. So yeah, they're all pretty helpful too, even if you don't use the credits after.
Yeah, and
Yeah, situation. I agree with that.
even if you do get the credit, like I had calc I had like calc credits up until calc 2, but I was kind of back and forth between moving on to like take differential equations or repeating calc 2 at RPI. But I ended up doing calc 2 at RPI, and it was a really nice like refresher. And also I ended up learning things that I didn't go over in like, I remember it was like BC calculus. So if you're at all, like, I mean, I would definitely, if you're like totally prepared and like you think you like you got it, like move on and take the credit. But if you're a bit skeptical and like you're at least thinking about retaking the class, like that's totally fine too. Because for me, it was a nice like refresher, and it prepared me more for like differential equations, which was next after calc 2.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so next question. What type of unique programs and opportunities does Rensselaer offer to their engineering students? I know we touched on a lot of these when we were presenting about our own experiences, but does anyone else have anything to add besides what we already talked about?
I mean, we also have our career fairs in the fall. I'm on the staff for a career fair this fall, and the fall career fair is run by 2 engineering student groups. So I guess that kind of counts as specific to engineering, but we do make sure that we get opportunities and recruiters and companies for everyone on campus and try and get everyone involved. So I don't think any program is like specific to engineering. Everyone has access to everything on campus.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the co-op I actually got at the spring career fair last year. So yeah, definitely huge plug to the career fair. It does a great job setting students up with internships, co-ops, or full-time jobs. So yeah, good point there. Last question that's on this list, and then we'll turn it over to the questions in the chat. What is some aspect of campus life that engineering majors enjoy here over other schools? Anyone want to take that one?
I can just say, like, I obviously haven't been to other schools, so I can't like fully speak for them. But I know something for me that I think is huge is that every single person here is either an engineering major. I mean, obviously we do have Haas, but a majority of the students on campus are engineering. They are STEM based. So I think it's really nice to know that everyone around you is working towards the same thing, and everyone kind of has the same goals, and everyone around you is really smart. And it's really cool to know that you can pretty much ask anyone for help and they'll be able to help you. So I think that's something that definitely separates RPI, just because a majority of the people here are engineers or they are science-based. You have a huge community and you have a huge group kind of backing you if you do need help. So I think that's something that kind of separates RPI.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll move on then to the questions in the group chat. First question, Tahira, this one's probably for you. What's your favorite and least favorite part about being a Chemie?
I think my favorite part about being, well, I'll have 2 favorites. First favorite is the like variety of things I could get interested in. You know, like mechanical engineering has a lot of things you could be in, and electrical as well, but chemical engineering as well also has like a ton of different fields. I could go into energy, renewable energy, which is what I'm planning on doing. I could go into the water industry. I could do pharmaceuticals. I could do basically anything. And I can jump in between all those things if I change my mind. Second favorite thing about being a chemie is definitely all my chemie friends. We always help each other out, as I mentioned earlier, homework, labs, and just working together, constantly making sure that we all understand our work, because it can be very difficult sometimes. Least favorite part about being a chemie, being in the Ricketts building in the basement. Is very, very hot in there. Just our building in general needs a little bit of updating, but it has a nice character to it. So all the chemies make jokes about the Ricketts building.
Nice. All right. So next question. What should we do over our summers in order to stand out to admissions offices in terms of engineering? I guess I'll take that one. I mean, I would just say in terms of the admissions process, they really just look at how much you're participating in something, not necessarily what you choose to do. I mean, obviously, if you do choose something like robotics or something like that, sure, you could learn something that could be directly applied to what you're studying in engineering. But my overall recommendation would just be to make the best use of your time, do something productive, do something interesting, do something that you enjoy, and that will make you stand out in the admissions process. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just because I kind of relate to this. I was always like thinking how do I stand out, or especially when applying to engineering, like I was kind of the odd case out because I was really involved in like the arts, and I was really involved in dance, and I loved like STEM and through my classes. Like I definitely showed that through like my coursework and what I took, but all my extracurriculars were not really related, but I was still passionate about them. So like I think that's really important to showcase, like even if you don't have like all these like just STEM, like robotics, like you're like the perfect like engineering student, like that doesn't mean like it's kind of like, because I was kind of like the odd case out where like I wanted to study engineering but I didn't have those like STEM extracurriculars. But I'm gonna just say it's okay as long as you're passionate about something else, and like because that just shows like you're gonna be involved on something on campus, like a club or organization that like you can just add on to campus life.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so next question. So Audrey, this will probably be for you and I. What were the typical class sizes that you experienced in the mechanical engineering major? So I would say that they started off kind of big. I mean, your general classes, Chem 1, Calc, all those. They were pretty big lecture halls, but they did break up into smaller groups. You could do a 10. If you take Chem 1, Physics 1, or Calc 1 your first semester, you're broken up into a group of usually around 10 students, led by a mentor. So for 1 hour a week, this mentor will go over the material, it'll act as a recitation, but they're also an upperclassmen, so they can give general advice, transition into college in general. So I had a Chem 1 mentor, and she was great. I did pretty well in the course. So yeah, that helped with the larger classes. And then as you progress through the curriculum, they very quickly get smaller. I've had classes with like less than 20 students in it.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Yeah,
Audrey, do you want to add to that?
I mean, even as soon as my second semester freshman year, I remember chemistry, you have the big lecture halls, and then Luke said, you have the smaller mentoring sessions. But even a class like material science, I don't think my class had more than like 30 people. So it shot down a lot from my second semester freshman year. And now, yeah, like when you take lab classes, so especially the really hands-on classes, those get really small. So in my thermals and fluids lab, which I just took, that was just 6 people in my lab section. So yeah, they get really small. And also, I mean, professors always have lots of office hours to go to. They make sure they're available. If you can't make it to the right time, you can email them. They'll set up other times. So even though your freshman year, it's a little scary, you can definitely find help, and you can definitely find that one-on-one time, even if the classes start out big.
Perfect. Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. All right, so this next question is for everyone except for me. What's your experience as a woman in engineering at RPI? Do you find that there are opportunities for women specifically?
I can start with that one. Being a woman at RPI, really fun time. The ratio of men to women is, I think, 35% women to 65% men right now. That might be not the exact number, but I don't really notice the gender disparity on campus. Like I've just gotten used to it by now. And we do have a lot of mentoring programs and engineering groups on campus that pertain to women specifically. I know, Kate, you're in SWE, so I'll let you talk about SWE.
Oh yeah, so I like kind of like adding on to what Tahira was saying, like, yeah, there's the ratio, but like you don't really notice it too much, especially when you kind of make your own friends and in classes. Honestly, my major, biomedical engineering, there's actually more girls than guys in our classes, which is funny because like but that's like maybe the one exception for out of all the engineering majors. But we have like so many female like engineering groups that you can join. So I'm involved in the Society of Women Engineers, and I joined that as soon as I got to campus. And it's just really cool, like having that group and community to support you, and like knowing that. And you don't have to be an engineer to participate in like their activities. You can even be like a business major and at RPI and be in the club, but it's just cool to like have that support group. And there's like other things like the women's mentoring program. So you'll definitely have a lot of like resources out there that will get you connected to a lot of women on campus.
Yeah, to add on to that, like from my experience,
Perfect.
so I'm involved in Greek life at RPI, so that helped me meet a lot of women in my sorority, so that was super awesome. And in mechanical engineering, I think the women ratio is about the same as the school, so it's probably around like 30-70. So I definitely feel like there are a lot of men in my classes, but honestly, I don't even really notice it at this point. And I've made really good friends with the females and the males in my major and stuff. So I mean, everyone's willing to help each other, which is nice. And so it doesn't even affect me, which is awesome. I don't know. That's kind of what I have to say.
Perfect. All right. Next question is, what is the ARCH program? Kate, you're staying for the ARCH. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah. So I am currently in the ARCH program right now. So it's so I'm a junior right now, but I just finished up my sophomore year. So it basically gives you the opportunity to take like a semester of your junior year, do that over the summer. So you have like a huge chunk of time in place of that semester during your junior year, either in the fall or spring. To do an away opportunity like a co-op, research, you can study abroad. We have something called like an individual learning experience where you can really do anything you want, like as long as it's like you're like basically improving yourself and learning something. So it's really cool because it just gives you this like huge chunk of time for an opportunity. So I'm taking my spring semester away. So I'm hoping to get a co-op during that time. And it really worked out because like for this summer, like a lot, it was very hard like for people to get internships, or some internships got like canceled. So like at least I can do my summer classes now, and I'll have that semester in the spring to hopefully work and get some experience. So yeah. And Tahira also did the arts, so she can also talk about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was same thing as Kate. I had the spring semester off too, but I didn't have. I have two. You can have the opportunity to like do a spring job and a summer job if you get an internship for the spring. So I have a small like part-time job for the summer, and I already had an internship in the spring. So the more experience you can gather while you're away, the better.
Perfect. Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Even though I didn't do the ARCH, I still got a 6-month co-op, and it definitely was worth it. Definitely great to do, and the ARCH definitely helps with that if you don't have AP credit. So the next question I can take. The question is, can I major in mechanical engineering and still take classes in biomedical engineering? The answer to that is yes, and I actually did that. Last semester, I just took biomechanics of soft tissue, and this semester, so over the summer, I actually started my master's over the summer because I had an internship, but it fell through, and I wanted to, do something over the summer. So I'm taking classes. And I'm taking biomedical fluid mechanics this summer. So the answer to that is yes. I've done it. Very easy to take classes in any department, no matter what school or major you're actually in. Great question. Question after that. Does RPI have any programs or ways of helping? Oh, sorry. Does RPI have any programs or ways of helping students determine which engineering discipline to major in?
I can take this one because I went through it. So RPI has all different 1-credit classes that are basically like seminars, and you go and they have different professors from, so you'll pick like civil engineering, and it'll be just a 1-credit pass-fail, or you can take like environmental engineering or chemical engineering. And it'll just be once a week for a couple hours, maybe 1 hour, like 2 hours, and they'll have professors come in and kind of explain like what, where they've worked, what kind of research they've done, what their classes are like. So you can kind of weed out some things that you aren't interested in, and then what kind of things you are interested in. And for the most part, your first 2 years, kind of across the board, everyone's kind of taking the same classes. So if, like I said, I waited till sophomore year. So if you end up kind of taking a long time to find your path, it's totally fine. You can still graduate on time. So I wouldn't be too worried about finding your path. RPI does a great job of helping. And then like Luke was saying, if you end up realizing you made the wrong choice and you want to switch, it's pretty easy.
Perfect. Next question is, could the capstone project be elaborated on? So yeah, I'll start with this question, but then anyone else who has input can definitely mention what they've done as well. So each major has some sort of capstone project, each engineering major, I should say. And if you're mechanical, electrical, industrial, or materials, maybe some others, you take a multidisciplinary capstone class. And the projects you are assigned here, so you have a mix of different majors in your group. So for my group, as I briefly mentioned, my project was a teach pendant. So again, a controller, like a touch screen with casing and everything for large manufacturing robotics. So I had obviously mechanical engineers in my group doing a lot of the casing and computer-aided design. And then I had a lot of electrical engineers in my group doing a lot of the software, coding, circuits, all of that. So yeah, we worked on it throughout the semester. And a lot of the projects, including mine, you don't necessarily have to finish by the end of the semester. It definitely depends on the project. But we got a lot of the work done. So a semester in the future, we'll finish up and then complete the project. And for that multidisciplinary capstone design course, companies actually come in and sponsor projects. So we got to work directly with the company on this project. So it was a great experience. I know other majors have, like I know chemical has a specific capstone for them, biomedical has a specific capstone for them. So does anyone else want to talk about capstone for your cases? Okay, I guess I covered it then. But yeah, that's the broad answer. But yeah, it's just an overall project to apply everything you learned into a final culminating project. So Chihiro, it looks like this next one's for you. Are you pursuing a master's in chemistry?
So
why or
I've
why
decided, in the time I've had to just think about future after bachelor's, I think I'm going to do a master's in mechanical engineering. So sorry to disappoint the chemi community, but they are quite similar, like fundamentally similar majors. So pursuing a master's, I already have all the prerequisites / like similar classes that mechanical engineers take to do a master's in mechanical engineering. And then I'm thinking of pursuing a PhD in materials engineering. So they all kind of go together, and I want to do the mechanical engineering to kind of dip more into materials, if that makes sense. So I have all these, all the fundamentals combined together.
Great choice, test major. Anyway, all right. So this next one's also for you. How would you say the job prospects are for chemi? So I know you're not actually going that route, but do you know people who maybe have gone that route?
I know a lot of people who have done internships at different places. Grace, we all know Grace. She did an internship at oh my gosh, I just forgot. I forgot where she did an internship, but she was doing like mechanical engineering things. There are people who've gone and worked at Regeneron and GE, lots of different places. So the whole world is open for chemi jobs. They need us everywhere.
Perfect. All right, so the next question is, it says tips for CAD for computer-aided design. So I can take this one. I mean, that's kind of a broad question, but I'll interpret it that if you have experience coming in with CAD, I mean, obviously that helps for mechanical or aerospace engineering or anything like that. But the way it works here at RPI is usually your freshman year, you take a 1-credit computer-aided design course, and you learn NX, the specific program NX. I've TA'd for this course a few semesters, so it definitely does a good job preparing you. But my general recommendation would be make sure to practice those CAD skills throughout, especially if you're in mechanical or aerospace engineering, because some courses involve you to use CAD, but a lot of them don't. So definitely practice those skills. And if you do come in with CAD experience, that's great. That's definitely helpful. But no worries if you don't, because I actually didn't. But through that one credit course, I realized that I love CAD, and I was able to get some more experience using that as a stepping stone. So yeah, good question. Anyone else want to add to that?
Oh, sorry. Also, you can get like RPI has SolidWorks for free too, so they have other programs too. So I downloaded that on my computer. I haven't had the chance to mess around with it. And yeah, I also came in with no CAD experience too, and I picked it up pretty easily because they're really good at teaching it here and stuff and going through it step by step. And online tutorials help. So if you want to watch some of those, if you're interested, I definitely would say look some up on YouTube. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I came into RPI with no CAD experience, but the intro to CAD course really helped. And also with my research, I learned how to use SolidWorks, and I just kind of basically figured out it's like kind of what Luke was saying, like the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And especially like in engineering, it's really important. It's like a very popular, I mean, it's a much needed skill to have. So just the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And tutorials online are really good too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so next question. What are some challenges you faced in your engineering classes? Anyone want to take this one?
All
right, I can start off. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'll start off saying that, yeah, the classes here, from what I've noticed, like they're a lot harder than high school. I got mostly A's in high school, and most people who come to RPI also got mostly A's in high school. So it's definitely a different environment, different dynamic. Not to say it's impossible by any means. I ended up doing pretty well, but it took a few semesters of practice. And for myself, and obviously this will depend on who you ask, but my GPA actually has increased pretty significantly throughout my career. A, just me getting better at time management, and B, me taking classes that I'm more interested in. Obviously, the general classes you take your first and sometimes early second year are kind of general. They aren't really what you're majoring in. But then once you start to take your major-specific courses, it kind of all clicks and all works together. So that's been my experience with the class here.
I think kind of exactly going off of that, I think some of my biggest challenges were realizing that like high school is very different from RPI. And I think, and I say this on tours all the time, I think like the hardest thing about RPI and adjusting is that like you need to learn when to ask for help. Because I think a lot of people at RPI never really had to ask for help in high school. So when you come here, you're like, I need to use my resources because these things are here to help me. So I think that's the biggest challenge. And once you kind of get over that hump and figure out, you know, what works for you, what doesn't, and kind of get better at time management. Similarly to Luke, my GPA has gone significantly up since first semester freshman year. So I'd say those are my biggest challenges. But once you kind of figure it out, it's smooth sailing. So.
Yeah, like when I came to RPI, so in high school, my high school had engineering classes, but I never took them because at the time I didn't think I wanted to be an engineer. So I definitely came in with like no experience at all, except for obviously like basic math sciences. I mean, I took the like easiest physics class in my high school at the time because that's all that fit in my schedule. But I mean, it was really scary, and the classes definitely. I mean, I don't want to scare people. It was scary at first, but there's definitely a lot of help. And what's nice is a lot of students around you are willing to help. So I remember like my freshman year, I had a really good friend who was like really good at introduction to engineering analysis. That's one of the first classes you take as an engineer. And he used to sit down with me and help explain this stuff because it helped him learn too when he was explaining it to me, things like that. And I've gone to professor office hours, things like that. So I think, yeah, the biggest challenge has been learning to ask for help and stuff. And yeah, I mean, now my classes now I've got more I don't know, I've found them more interesting, I guess, like other people have too, so it's gotten easier, definitely.
And also, I think like upperclassmen are really great at just kind of like letting you know how like the class will be. So you kind of have like a preparation and you can be like mentally prepared if it's gonna be like really, really hard or like, you know, like moderate. So there are like some really, really hard classes and but for those like if you get like the help from like TAs, professors, and like friends around you, it's totally doable to do well. It's just all about time management.
Yeah, to add to that too, I would say getting involved with clubs or activities on campus is key to meet those upperclassmen to give you advice on courses, because that's where I got a lot of my advice from the clubs I was a part of. So I knew which classes were harder, so I could schedule them in different semesters with other hard classes and kind of go from there. So it is about 7 o'clock now, so I think we will wrap this up. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of the questions. I know there are a few more. But for those of you who didn't get your questions answered, there are a lot of options. There are a lot of emails throughout the chat here that you can feel free to send an email to if you still have your question that's not answered. In addition to that, we have a lot of other webinars going on this week. We have a student activities webinar, a research. I think there are 2 or 3 others. So definitely check those out if you have specific questions about those particular aspects of RPI. And with that said, have a nice rest of the evening and stay safe.